Hi, everyone. It's Ryan Fowler with my good friends, Jordan Kurtz, Tim Costello here today, Inner Game Group Live. Today, I know kind of a strong title, but it's going to be good information today. Do you hate yourself? And if you do, what can you do? How can you stop it? Jordan showed this to me yesterday. It's a Psych2Go video, and it's 7 signs you hate yourself. And I looked at it, I'm like, damn, that hits hard. So I figured we would comment on it. I used to have I think I had 6 out of 7 on the list before I cleared my trauma. So going to be an interesting discussion today. But before we get into that, Jordan and Tim, welcome to this show. Introduce yourselves, Jordan, first.
Hello. I'm Jordan Kurtz.
Hello.
And and the reason I picked this, or one of the reasons I picked this video, was recently I've been working on creating some free materials as part of the hypnosis business. And as I was doing that, I noticed that I was trying to give people instructions on how to identify some of these subconscious beliefs. Like, what do you actually have to do? Like, what do you have to notice? And the first thing I started with is look for symptoms of a problem. Like, you go into a doctor, if you have a cough, a runny nose, maybe you have an allergy, maybe it's a sinus infection, a virus, could be, or, any number of things. And so the first step is, look at signs or symptoms of the larger problem. And so this video is kind of along those lines of like, okay, 7 signs that you hate yourself. And so you might not recognize, and hate yourself is really this, like, I'm not good enough belief. That's usually the number one toxic shame that we help people with. And so if you have any of these signs, these are basically symptoms of a larger problem that you can use hypnosis to clear those limiting beliefs with.
All right. Thanks, Jordan.
Fantastic, Jordan. Now, when I was in the Navy many, many moons ago, and I have been out of the Navy now this summer 34 years, and I was in for 12. Hello, Rebecca. One of the things that I worked on with nuclear weapons was called a trouble and failure report. And when Ryan's Dive to the 5 came out, I first had an inkling. And then when I saw Jordan's document he was working on, I thought, you know what? This is just like a trouble and failure report. And the number one question on that report was first indication of trouble or failure. Right? So you just sort of write out, here's what I'm doing. And that's very much like Dive to the 5, very much like Jordan's explanation of essentially Dive to the 5. So really well put together, and it helps you identify that first indication that you're having a problem, right? What are those signs? And when we get into this topic today, this is a really good one, hard hitting for a lot of people. But the interesting thing is every single one of these relates back to a specific type of subconscious trauma. And we're going to link that all around really nicely for you. Welcome to the show, everybody.
All right. So, Jordan, are you able to cue up the clip?
Gotcha. Yeah, I got you.
And we'll just dive right in. And this is from Psych2Go, and great YouTube channel. I like most of their stuff, not all, but most is really good. And the video clip is in the description if you guys want to watch it on your own.
All right.
So pretty.
Hey there, Psych2Go family. Welcome back. We at Psych2Go look forward to your continued love and support. With that said, let's begin.
Okay.
A lot of us feel like we don't deserve to have our dreams come true or have good things happen to us. And sometimes, no matter how far we've made it or how much we've already accomplished, we still don't feel content. Why is that? The answer isn't an easy one. Most likely, it's when we grapple with feelings of self-loathing. Self-loathing is defined as hatred for oneself that often manifests as anger, self-sabotage, a negative view of oneself, and low self-esteem. It's important for a person to be aware of their feelings and attitudes towards themselves so they can start to change for the better. Here are 7 signs you may be suffering from self-loathing and just don't know.
Number 1.
1. You tear yourself down. Self-hate makes you your own worst critic. Keeping an eye on your shortcomings is a good thing, but not allowing yourself room to breathe stems from an immense dislike for your current self. You think extremely harsh things about yourself and indulge in self-pity a lot, so much that tearing yourself down has become a daily habit for you. Everyone makes mistakes, but you're so hard on yourself that you can't forgive yourself when you mess up. You're quick to blame yourself whenever something goes wrong, even if it's not your fault. You never commend yourself for a job well done, but rather criticize yourself for even the tiniest of mistakes. You're plagued by feelings of guilt, worthlessness, and inadequacy that manifest themselves as frequent complaints about yourself and your life. 2. You feel insecure around others.
You want to,
If you find
guys
that
want to
other people
tackle
make
this
you
one,
feel
the first
Yeah,
one?
let's go with number 1 there.
We'll do one at a time. So comments.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, they said a lot of people have this. How many do you think have it? To some degree, it's on a spectrum.
So, first of all, we always agree that every single person on this earth has some degree of subconscious trauma.
Yeah.
It could be so minuscule, it never bothers them, but once every 5 years, because some pattern matches in the subconscious, and they feel bad for 27 seconds and are moving on, didn't maybe even notice it. And then there are others who inhabit 4 types of subconscious trauma caused by shame in their childhood. And then because of all that, they develop a tremendous hatred or anger or resentment towards something or somebody. And then it starts manifesting out, right? So this very first one here, we talk about she covers a number of subconscious traumas in this one topic here. But one is, you don't deserve anything that could possibly be good that might come your way from your hard work, effort, or, and this is my favorite one, I'm stupid. Are you really?
Yeah,
If you're
self-criticism.
Yeah, if you're aware enough to think that you are stupid, you likely do not fit the category of moron, idiot, or stupid.
A lot of guys are very self-critical.
Right.
Well, I think women are too, but with the negative self-talk, like really harsh stuff, a lot of men do that.
Now, the second one there is, I'm ugly. Number 1, it really doesn't matter what you look like. Why? Because to a great extent, you can't control what you look like. Now, other than weight gain, weight loss, whatever, that kind of stuff, I'm talking typical things. But if the way you look, the way your face is structured, the proportions of the eyes to cheeks to nose to mouth to chin to, whatever it happens to be, zero control over that. Why ever worry about it, right? Yeah. Whether or not you are attractive to somebody has a tremendous amount of weight from your subconscious and the way you act and feel about yourself, not what you look like. Some people are giant and tall. Some people are short and chubby. It just doesn't matter. So I'll leave it to these guys to throw some more stuff out there. But just the beginning, if you have any of those feelings, now is the time to identify them and start getting rid of those feelings, because they're generally not true.
Okay, Jordan.
Yeah, I think the phrases that stood out to me the most was like the guilt, the feeling worthless, feeling inadequate. Because the point of the video is like, do you have self-loathing? And so it was interesting. Like, I think, because I've watched the whole video, I think like some of these terms, I think what they're trying to do is describe other ways of describing what self-loathing is. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I actually, the first one, I felt like the signs were a little more, I don't want to say obvious, but they're a little more like self-evident. Like, do you generally, do you like yourself, or like, do you feel like you're worthless? I don't know. I'm not sure how helpful number 1 was for me personally, because I felt like they listed stuff that was maybe self-evident. Like, if you feel worthless, you hate yourself. I don't know. Do you disagree?
I mean, not to everyone, because a lot of people have bad self-talk and don't realize it's bad. And they do kind of address that. Like I have people all the time. I'm like, how often you put yourself down? What kind of things do you tell yourself? And they tell themselves that because like, come on, what the hell is wrong with me? Come on, get my act together. You know, I'm lazy. And they're telling themselves that to try and motivate themselves to do better, not realizing that the more pain their brain associates with what they should do, the more resistance their brain will give them to doing that thing, because our brain wants to avoid things that has pain tied to it.
Absolutely.
So literally making your situation worse with negative self-talk. And a lot of people think it's good. They're like, this is how I motivate. It's like, well, actually, no, you are literally making your brain give you more resistance. It's a key reason you procrastinate and self-sabotage. You know, once you understand the neuroscience and psychology. Yeah.
I think I forgot what the actual title was. It's You Tear Yourself Down. I know.
And a lot of people do it without even realizing it's wrong.
Well, it becomes so normal and comfortable them to do that. It's just like regular practice. This is what I do day in and day out because it makes me feel a tiny bit better about myself.
Yeah.
As bad as that is.
I'll add back in. I think I disagree with what I said earlier. So I didn't have my thoughts in.
It's okay. All good. It's all good.
One of the indicators I look for when I'm dealing with clients or just other people in my life for indicators of like low self-esteem and self-worth is like self-deprecation. If they're always sort of the butt of the joke, if they always make fun of themselves, if they seem to just not like themselves very much. Notice how do people talk about themselves generally positively or negatively? And that's like, those are, we go back to, symptoms, as I was talking about, at the beginning of the show, that's a really big symptom of what's going on internally. I remember being in Hawaii with a bunch of guys. I was for a meetup on 2 weeks ago now. And, I was actually pointing that out to people. I'm like, of course they asked me to, so it's not like it's just out of the blue, but I'm like, no, don't talk bad about yourself. Like, don't talk bad about yourself, because people get used to that. It's a habit that they start to form. It's like you have to practice talking. You do have to do the subconscious work, but you also have to practice like talking positively about yourself. So
now I think it's very interesting because you actually just modeled very healthy behavior, which you're like, okay, I take back what I said, and you kind of acknowledge that, all right, that was a mistake. I didn't mean to say that, but you didn't beat yourself up. So, because you can go to either spectrum. You could, a full-blown narcissist will say how great they are and never acknowledge mistakes. And I've literally had narcissists where they point out my mistake and they did something, the exact same thing, or almost worse, contemporaneously. And I'm like, well, listen, you did this. It's the same thing. So why are you getting on my case when you're doing the same thing? And they literally would not acknowledge. Like, they just pretend. Anytime I say that, they pretend like I didn't say anything. They literally would just ignore it. And it's so what is healthy, and they say this in the video, is you're able to acknowledge your mistakes. You don't ignore them. But, one of the beliefs I put in people's subconscious is our mistakes don't make us not good enough. They make us human. Welcome to the human race. And when you have that belief, it is actually having that belief actually helps you connect with people much better, because acknowledging our humanity, that we make mistakes, but that's just part of the human experience. It's a type of vulnerability. Again, I hate the word vulnerability, because when I'm vulnerable, I don't feel vulnerable. And if I'm vulnerable and someone shames me, I'm just like, all right, you don't see my value. Yeah, I'm human, whatever. You got flaws too. So they can't really hurt me when I'm being authentic and acknowledging my mistakes. However, it is a point for connection with others. When others see you being comfortable being a flawed human being, inwardly they feel better, because they're like, oh, great, now I can be a flawed human being too, and we can connect as authentic human beings. When you're hiding your mistakes, that is inauthentic. Now, I don't think we should profess our mistakes openly to the world and push it on others, but we just don't hide it. And so when you're just really comfortable in your own skin with your flaws, on the one hand, you're not beating yourself up, you're not self-deprecating, you're not self-loathing, but on the other hand, you're not hiding, you're not being this narcissist who's like, oh, I'm perfect, I'm amazing, and literally like doesn't acknowledge your flaws or attacks anyone that points out flaws when they're trying to give constructive criticism, or like, hey, you did this and it kind of hurt me this way, and then attacking them. When you're just very comfortable with the fact that, welcome to the human race, man.
Hey, Jordan, I got a question for you.
That's a great place to be. That's where you should be.
6 years ago, prior to you and Ryan having a first session, and you had stated something
that journal
we thought that, realized you made a mistake, and then wanted to restate it. How would you have felt back then? What would you have done differently?
How would I have felt? Probably like if I didn't, like other people were going to judge me. Like I got to make sure Ryan and Tim like me. So like I have to make sure that I have to what's the right phrase? I'm trying to put myself back in the mindset I used to be in. A lot of social anxiety, like if I don't correct myself, if I don't say the right thing, if I don't frame things a certain way, people aren't going to like me. Ryan and Tim are going to kick me out of the group, those kinds of things.
So would you have, with pride involved, stood on your mistake and said, no, and this is why, and start trying to justify it so you didn't look bad, that kind of thing? Would you have done something like that? Because that's what most people do.
Probably not. It depends on what I think. I probably would have depended on if I thought there would be more judgment for correcting myself versus more judgment for where I thought the pain was worse, right? We tend to move towards pain and, or away from pain and towards pleasure. So if I thought that you guys would like me more for, trying to defend myself and correct myself, then I probably would have done that. If I thought you guys would have liked me more for, trying to, change my opinion, it's like, and this could be not necessarily for even a mistake, but if I said something that I could tell, like one of you, like we didn't agree necessarily, I might have tried to shift my opinion slightly to make myself more, to have a greater appeal to the person I was talking to.
Right. So I think very nice. Thank you. Thank you for that.
By the way, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what I want to point out to our watchers and people viewing this video is Jordan is now in a state where he's not worried about what people think about what he's going to do, because he knows to the core he's worth infinite amount of value. And there's nothing anybody can do to diminish that value. So if he makes a mistake, so what? Like Ryan said, welcome to the human race. You back up a little bit, you rephrase it, and you move forward. And I wanted him to go back to that time when it was more painful for him, just so everybody else could see the way Jordan would have thought in the past and then the way he thinks now. Huge difference. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, let's talk about me. I don't even notice
it.
Let's not talk about Ryan. Oh my goodness, that was a mess.
Just kidding. I used to have extreme self-hatred.
Talk into the mic, Ryan.
Yeah, I used to have extreme self-hatred. I used to so I was raised in a home where my mom taught me that if I made any mistake at all whatsoever, or went against her will at all whatsoever, tiniest mistake, that was proof that I was a fundamentally bad human being, like a bad kid, evil, sinful, wrong, just a straight up bad person. And so like it literally, now I was raised in a religious Christian household, and it literally got to the point when I was in the worst of my depression where I would call myself a son of perdition. Now, what a son of perdition is, for people not so familiar with that Christian term, is Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ to the Romans who crucified him. Judas was the son of perdition. What it means is your sins are so heinous, you'll never be forgiven, and you are doomed to go to hell no matter what. The atonement of Christ has no effect on you, and you're screwed. You're going to hell. So I literally called myself that. Now, I didn't do anything anywhere near in the ballpark to actually warrant that. Like, not even close. But that was my degree of self-loathing, and that's why I was actually there's I think 5, 6, 7 categories of depression. I was diagnosed in the worst category, extreme depression. And the reason I didn't kill myself is because I had the Christian belief that if I kill myself, it's an even bigger sin, and I'm going to hell for that. So, and I never seriously attempted, but it was not uncommon to think about killing myself in the worst when I had that self-loathing, had that self-hatred. And maybe it's not PC. Maybe I should say self-delete or something. It doesn't get us banned from YouTube. I don't know. And
let's put a bit of relativity there. So when Ryan talks about the things that his mother would criticize him for doing, it might be something like, you didn't vacuum the floor.
Yeah, right. Leaving a sock on the. Yeah, I vacuumed, but I missed a spot.
Or you didn't pour the milk correctly in your cereal.
Yeah,
just something like absolutely inane that woman could now hold some type of authoritative power unrighteously over Ryan's head.
I literally remember her walking in the room, and there was like a tiny bit of salt, and I mean tiny, I mean, a few grains of salt on the floor. And she would, one thing that actually a lot of narcissistic parents do is they'll come in the room and they'll scan the room for anything you did wrong that they can hold you, like even the tiniest thing that they can then use to torture you, because they actually gain narcissistic supply. They're emotional bullies, and they power trip off of being able to bully you psychologically. And so I literally remember her looking down at these few grains of salt and, then proceeding to do her thing. Like the tiniest little error or mistake, she would blow up into, I committed this cardinal sin. It was crazy. Yeah. Glad I don't deal with that anymore.
Hello, Carrie. Welcome to the show.
What was interesting, though, is after years and years and years of that, I internalized it and was doing it to myself now. Now I'm the critic of myself. Yeah. I don't do that anymore. Thank goodness.
Yes, sir.
Those were dark times.
Should we go on to number 2?
Yeah. Let's do it.
My mouse. There
we go. Life. 2. You feel insecure around others. If you find that other people make you feel insecure about yourself a lot, it might be time to ask yourself why. Most likely it's because you're constantly comparing yourself to them and feeling like you'll never be able to measure up, no matter what you do. Subjecting yourself to this kind of harsh judgment is a definite sign that you hate yourself. When you look at someone else, you always focus on all the things that they have that you don't, and it makes you ungrateful for all the good things you do have. You can't help but feel bad about yourself whenever you're around someone who's happy, confident, smart, attractive, or successful. 3. You neglect yourself.
Do you want to comment on those, or do you want to do 3 too?
That's a lot of what we did before.
I'll just say I did it a lot, but I will say that some abusive parents actually emotionally abuse their children by pointing out other kids that are better than them. That's terrible parenting. Don't do that.
So this insecurity has a lot to do with your self-worth. And that's really the number one subconscious trauma, number one category that a lot of people suffer from, because we are taught from a very young age to continually compare us to some standard that is unattainable for 99.99% of the people.
And how much worse did Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. made this? It put this on steroids.
Yeah, they went nuts with it. But the reality is that you can't be something that you're not. And remember, we're always comparing this thing to some physical attribute about someone else. We're never really talking about their real inner world. We're talking about how they look, how they dress, what they're wearing, where they're going, how much money they have, what car they drive, what house they live in, what neighborhood they're in, all those typical things that have nothing to do with anything of the inner game. And a lot of those people that have all those don't have a great inner game. We don't wish that upon them.
They're very insecure.
Yeah, but that's the reality.
Yeah, and one coping mechanism is, oh, others are better than me. Look at this person. And, you know, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and you'll never be number one in the world, you know, or it's like 1 in 7 billion chance, right? Whatever the population is. So
Yep.
What's this? You knew a woman who would get mad at children for breathing her air and walking on her floors. Yeah, and so that's extreme narcissism right there. So,
Yep.
and yeah, that's my mom was one notch below that. Anyways, and to her credit, she's mellowed out somewhat, but at the same time, I'm not living with her, and that probably has something to do with it too. Anyways, oh, what was I saying? What was I talking about before that?
You guys care around others. That was the topic.
Oh yeah. So
social, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. So social media, all of that. How some people cope with that is they'll put up their own false front, and then they'll work very hard. They're in the gym all the time. They're spending a ton of time, expensive clothing and just doing everything they can. And so you will see a lot of people who outwardly look really great, and they actually have a lot of trauma. And the reason they look really great is that's how they cope with their insecurity, is just projecting to the world that they're really awesome to hide the fact that inside they really feel inadequate. Now, that's not all of these people, but it's a big chunk of them.
Hey, the new next, look down in the description. It's the bottom link, Psych2Go video link. That'll get you right to this thing that we're looking at.
Yep.
All right. Jordan, what do you got?
So this is about feeling insecure around others. And I was thinking about that title. It's not and you feel insecure not necessarily because these other people are making fun of you or teasing you or ostracizing you. The key here is that word comparison. You see these other people having something you don't, whether it be looks or money or status, and you feel bad about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of irrespective of their behavior. Even if people could even be treating you well, and you could still feel inadequate, because it's more about the belief about yourself. Because we talk about, it's I'm not good enough for myself versus I'm not good enough for others, or I don't belong, right? So this sign, number 2 in particular, is more about how do you feel about yourself when you're around other people. Other people are sort of the triggers, or the triggers for those subconscious programs within you. So that's the distinction I wanted to point out.
And one thing I'd like to point out to add to that is, because of social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. When the iPhone came out, I think it was 2007 or 9. And then when on top of that, there was, Instagram, all this other stuff, you can look at the CDC, Center for Disease Control, statistics online, and there was somewhat of an increase in feelings of hopelessness and despair among adolescent and teen boys, but a massive surge in hopelessness and despair among young women. And the number, I think the latest number was 2023, 57% of young ladies feel persistent, chronic hopelessness and despair because of seeing everyone else who looks like they're so great. She's so pretty. She looks so good in a bikini. They're looking at that, and then they compare it to themselves, and 57% are feeling awful because of it.
Right.
It's a plague. This is the real psychologically speaking, this is a pandemic. I don't know how else to put it. It's a very severe problem right now.
You know, one of the feelings about social media now is there are more and more parents who are thinking correctly and not allowing having their children have these devices until they're well into their late teens, if at all.
Social media should be 18 plus restricted.
Absolutely,
in my opinion.
Yep, because it
is a tool for good.
World.
It can be.
Yep.
But it can also be very destructive, and it is on a massive scale. It is in many situations. It's not all bad. It absolutely has a good uses, but man, for kids, it can be very destructive.
All right, you want to go to the next one?
Yep,
you bet.
All right. All righty.
3. You neglect your self-care. Do you want your loved ones to be happy and taken care of? Chances are you probably answered yes right away, because when you love someone, you want what's best for them. So if you really loved yourself, you'd want that for you too. This is why neglecting your self-care is a form of self-hatred. You don't sleep well, you're not eating right, you don't exercise, you don't try to look nice for yourself, and you don't do things that make you happy. It's not that you don't have the time or can't be bothered enough. It's more about refusing yourself the pampering because of a deep-seated grudge with yourself. Since your insides are at war with you, it only seems right to let yourself show it outwardly as well. So when you look in the mirror, all you see is a haggard reflection, unworthy of love, and that's how you like it. 4. You don't.
So when I look in the mirror, I see some old dude, and I wonder who's standing behind me. Like, who the hell is that? Anyway, what I like about that particular topic there is, and I think the word maybe even indifferent more than hate. Hate's a strong word. I think indifference is sort of stronger in the lack of a care one way or the other. Definitely a self-loathing for sure, but indifference. You don't care about yourself. You're going to do everything for everybody else long before you ever take care of yourself.
There's a comment right there.
That's Kevin.
Oh yeah, that's your son. Look at that.
Yep.
I see the picture now.
What's up, Kevin?
All right.
Yeah, that was one of those terrible, wonderful supervisors.
Yeah. Okay.
So the self-care stuff. So I look at people who are, talk about sometimes about like stereotypes, like how do you treat your own body? And so like, are you, it's not always the case, but like, look at people who are overweight and obese, look at people who modify their body in certain ways, get a lot of tattoos, piercings, they might cut their hair, dye their hair certain colors. Like these are symptoms and reflections of like how you treat yourself. And so I think, is there a segment of people that really like feel good about themselves that like to do some of those things? Sure, I think that's the case, but it's definitely a red flag if I see people that don't take care of themselves. It's like,
you see a lot. Yeah.
Right. It's like, what's going on internally? Why do you not feel like you deserve to take care of yourself? It's like, it's like, I feel almost mean saying it, but like I almost sound like I'm bullying, but like it's a reflection of how you feel about yourself if you don't want to take care of yourself. Like, do you care? Like, do you take care of your teeth? Do you take care of your skin? Do you like shower? Do you like, are there self-grooming habits? Why do we groom because we want to make ourselves be healthy? And it's like, if you don't feel like you deserve to be healthy, you're very unlikely to do any of those things. And so it's rather sad because it's your direct, it's like your direct interactions and the way you take care of yourself. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, and for some people, it's like with overeating, that can be to cope with toxic shame. And we're really talking about toxic shame here today. I'm not good enough. I mean, this is all that. And so it can be self-medicating, comfort food, etc. And then now you're overweight. It could be I'll never be that person. I'll never be that perfect person who, and therefore I'll never be good enough. So why even try?
Yep.
And they just let themselves go. Or, for me, like when I was just so depressed, you just don't have energy for it. It could be a combination of all of those. And yeah, like the thing with people who have a lot of piercings, a lot of tattoos, I've actually had a couple people like that as clients. And I do think people with a few tattoos can have very healthy self-esteem, or a few piercings, healthy self-esteem. But man, I knew a guy who had a tattoo on his entire face. And it's back when he was a drug addict and all that. He did that. And he's like, man, I so regret getting a tattoo on my entire face. But he was in his height of self-loathing when he did that. And I've had other, clients, and yeah, so when it's a really excessive amount, like, both arms are just completely tattooed up. They call them sleeves when it's basically your entire arm. And, I've known people like that come in for sessions, and self-hate would be an appropriate word for what they suffered from.
I had one client that related the amount of tattoos that they had to cutting.
Yeah.
I asked them, and they told me why, but I asked them, why do you have so many tattoos? Is it the artwork or whatever? He goes, well, the artwork's okay, but I really enjoy the pain.
Yeah.
While they're applying the tattoo. And I thought, why did you enjoy the pain? And he goes, because it's the only way I could feel something. They were so emotionally shut down and dead on the inside that the pain from getting a tattoo, and I'm not saying this is everybody, this is one guy that I talked to, so it's very anecdotal, but for him, it allowed him to feel something.
Yeah, it's insane, man.
Trying to think of any other examples of self-care.
We could just move on if you can't.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't
come back to something. No big deal.
Sure. All right. Let's roll forward to number 4 here. Find my mouse.
It's how you like it. 4. You don't let yourself be happy. You're a pessimist who's quick at finding the negative aspect in every situation. You're wary of compliments or praise because it seems mocking. You don't see yourself in a positive light and refuse to believe what others say. However, you do take their criticism to heart because it reinforces your view of yourself. You're not comfortable letting other people help, as you believe your troubles are yours alone and you deserve them. You find it hard to feel good about yourself. And this is what sucks all the joy out of your life. You resent the way you are and deprive yourself from anything, even remotely akin to delight. These are just a few of the ways that you deny yourself happiness, perhaps even unknowingly, as you fester in your own self-hatred. 5. You isolate yourself from others.
All right, number 4.
All I can say is I had that one too. You don't accept, you can't take the credit because you feel, I felt if people complimented me that they weren't seeing the real me, they couldn't see what a absolute piece of trash I was.
And then maybe you were putting on a false front that they were seeing.
It rang hollow.
Yeah. This is a level of self-talk, right? And you'll even see.
Yeah, but it's tied to deep beliefs too. Yeah.
Sure. Always.
Yeah.
But people will, oh no, that's okay. I didn't do that good. Or they'll even knock themselves down while somebody is complimenting them. They'll show them what was wrong with what they did, even though what they did was good and admirable and worthy of good thoughts and good words. And then they will, but if somebody criticizes them, they'll take that to heart because, hey, it must be true if you're criticizing me. So that, like Ryan said, it goes to the core belief, but it is a lot of that self-talk out there in the world.
Yep.
Right. And that's why I have issues with like these. I've seen some people on YouTube be like, all right, let's do like a 10-day positivity challenge. It's like, but if you don't feel like, if the positivity isn't a match for what's inside of you, you're just going to reject it all. It's like, that's the whole problem, is that if the feedback coming from the outside world or from yourself is a match for what you already believe, then you'll accept it. So if you believe you're worthy, then you'll accept the good praise and stuff. But if you don't believe that, you'll only accept the negative stuff. And so
you'd be like, that's not me. I can't accept this praise.
Right. It won't feel authentic. And so he's like, oh, just try and think positive for 10 days. It's like, well, you're just going to keep projecting all the positive. Doesn't matter how much positivity you force into your head. You don't believe it to be the case.
There is a lot of effort to cognitively and consciously overwhelm what's going on in the subconscious. And that may work for a while, like a 10-day positivity binge. If you get every day up with a list of things to do that are positive to reaffirm how great you are, so on and so forth, that will work a little bit. And you will have a tiny bit of success through those 10 days. But when the 10 days are up and there's no regimen, which would be nice if there were, immediately the subconscious will take back over all of that. And again, if your subconscious controls 90 to 95% of what you're doing throughout the day, guess what you're going to do? Whatever's at your core. If it's at your core that you don't love yourself, that's what's going to come out. If it's at your core that you do love yourself and know your worth, that's what's going to come out.
Very good. And so we also want to cover, we're going to get to these other steps. But I want to point out that this is on a spectrum. Some people have negative self-talk, but they're doing more or less okay overall. And then other people are just really suffering, really struggling. And if you are someone, especially when your pain's on the surface, meaning you're connected to it, you know it's there, you don't feel good because of this self-loathing, try our free self-hypnosis course, school.com/RyanFowlerSOS-7231. It's absolutely free. It's the basic course. You're going to get better results doing one-on-ones with us, better, quicker, faster, deeper. But the free course is actually designed to help people. And really what it does is it gets rid of this emotional pain and it replaces it with unconditional self-love. That is, I made the course, I designed it, and that is the core intent of the course. What it does is replace self-loathing, feeling not good enough, self-hate, toxic shame with unconditional self-love and belief in your ability and value. The free course, if you're diligent, 80% of people can fix 80% of this on their own with the free course. You got to know how to do it. You may run against some roadblocks and then get on our community and ask questions. But, and again, it's a longer process than just doing a session with us. And a session with us, we can get 95% of trauma out of 95% of people. So sessions with us overall and way quicker. But the free course in its own right is powerful, and you can connect with a community of people looking to positively up-level and heal their core. School.com/RyanFowlerSOS-7231. It's free. Give it a shot. It very well may change your life, and it has for many people. So anyways, moving on, guys.
All right. Let's take a look here.
Hatred. 5. You isolate yourself from others. You struggle to maintain relationships with others because you feel like you don't deserve their love. Often you feel their attention and love is a burden for you. You don't consider yourself good enough to remain in the circle. Since you have a low concept of your own self, you feel like they're judging you as well. It may look like they're doing you a favor by including you, so you stay back because you think they're better off without you. You feel guilty for hanging out with them because you believe your presence is an intrusion upon them and you're holding them back. Your inability to love yourself makes you unwilling to accept love from others as well. As a result, You isolate yourself to refrain from inconveniencing others with your presence. 6. You put on a facade for others.
All right. So this is you isolate yourself from others. I'll bring that back.
That's toxic chain number 2. I don't belong or fit in.
Yep.
There's the 5 traumas we deal with. Number 1, I'm not good enough in some way. Number 2, don't belong or fit in. Number 3, can't get what you want. Number 4, trapped anger, resentment, rage towards yourself or others. Number 5, feeling unsafe. And the next one I think is, it all goes back to the 5 core traumas. That's why we have the dive to the 5 process, which is in our free program, and we use in sessions to figure out what types of trauma you have in you, then get them out. This is I don't belong or fit in.
So I've got
not good enough for others.
I've got a couple of acquaintances that I've known for 10, 15 years, and their trauma causes them to isolate themselves from others physically and socially, but not in the online gaming world. So they will leave the real world, and they'll go spend their time. Literally, I've got one friend that he will spend 18 to 19 hours a day doing nothing but playing video games. And they're usually group video games. So there's a group of people out there that they're all playing together.
In that world, they're powerful, good looking.
Yes. Yeah. They're everything they want to be in real life, but they never leave the house except maybe to go shopping or the doctor. And that's about it. They truly isolate themselves from humanity because of the way they feel.
Well, and they're trying to connect with humanity, which is why he's in games with others online.
Right.
But everyone is acting through an avatar, a false persona, a fantasy. It's not real connection. There might be a tiny bit of real connection there, but you're interfacing through these false avatars that aren't the real you. Yeah.
The phrase that stuck out to me in this was that like you feel like they're better off without you. Like they're just
dude,
like
I felt that
humoring
before,
you.
That sucks.
They're just trying to include you.
Yeah.
And even if, and again, I think number 5 here blends a little bit both of I'm not good enough and I don't belong. So you might just be projecting that onto them. There could be an element of that, perhaps. And so that might not even be correct, but you still feel like they should be doing that, or it doesn't make sense that they would include you, so they must be just trying to be nice or humor you, And so that goes back to that, well, I'm not worthy in general, so why would other people think I'm worthy? Almost irrespective of how other people actually think.
And let us all get back to how complex this is, right? Every single one of us had a different set of parents, a different home environment, brothers and sisters, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Everything affected us in that youth as we were growing up. So that provides the complexity that people have to get through now, right? And these simple steps are just ways for you to get that first indication of trouble or failure. Like, I'm feeling that. Let me go down that rabbit hole a little bit and uncover what's going on there. It's very complex. Nothing we say is a blanket statement. It's just interactions we've had with people, experiences that we've had as we're helping people heal, all that kind of stuff. So nobody has one blank, here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to be well. It is very complex. And that's what Ryan's Dive to the 5 and Jordan's new document that he came up with that he'll share eventually are really good examples of identifying what's going on inside. And it's amazing is even though people have used Dive to the 5 religiously, and I've got into the beginning of our session, generally what happens is at the end of that, me going through them with that Dive to the 5, we almost have a different complex statement that we're using that wasn't the initial one they came up with. But the one they came up with began the path.
Yeah, and that's one of the big benefits of one-on-one session. I spend 2 to 4 hours talking to someone before doing hypnosis to figure out what exactly is going on with them. The new next, he says, this point resonates hard. I think it's about not belonging or fitting in or something similar. And I just want to say to the new next, it doesn't have to resonate hard. You can literally very quickly get to a point where it doesn't resonate. You're just like, oh, I used to feel that way. I don't feel like that way at all anymore. That's literally what we do. We go in, we find that pain, get it out, and then the next time, instead of getting triggered, you just feel kind of neutral.
It seems like the new next has a little bit of history with Dive to the 5. Look at his next comment.
Dive to the 5 was an impactful exercise. So very good exercise, and then go into the audio and get the trauma out of you. Now, like I said, with our free course, 80% of people can fix 80% of their trauma. That's if they're self-motivated and they really spend some time working on it. But that's literally true. I've had people really struggling. I have people hit me up out of the blue and they say, I did your free program, and 6 months later, I've lost 50 pounds and I'm way more. I've had people, I did your free program, and I used to, I listened to the audio one time. My fear of talking to girls went from 9 out of 10 down to 2 out of 10. My procrastination went from 9 out of 10, massively procrastinating, to now it's 2 or 3 out of 10 issue. And by the way, I had my first $20,000 month, which I've never had in my life. So the free program, if you're really hardcore, you can fix 80% of your stuff. Come to us for the last 20%. Or 95. We can get almost all of it out. It may not get it all out in one session, but and a lot of people just really want quick results instead of struggling on their own. And so when things resonate hard like that, if it's hitting you in a negative way, that feeling is optional. You can literally get it out of you. So, but I'm glad you did the Dive to the 5, and just keep going. You may need to listen to the audio 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 times on one particular issue, or you may not be able to get it on your own. But like I said, 80% of people can get 80% if they really work at it with the free program. So keep going and talk to us if you're stuck.
Yeah, and what Ryan's talking about there is there are some really good layers of the onion that are super visible, super attainable, super identifiable. The thing that we help a number of people with is they got an indication, but they can't quite follow it down the rabbit hole. And we go down that rabbit hole with them, asking a ton of questions and slowly building that out of hypnosis trigger where we're going to release that trauma once we get down deep.
Yeah, results are greatly accelerated one-on-one. There's just
absolutely.
There's no replacement for working with an expert. But if you don't have the money for a session, you can fix a lot on your own.
Absolutely, and you'll be better. Now, the good thing is, I like Ryan Harrison's thing. You can also just not care about fitting in. What
I'm totally cool with that.
What I love about that statement is you are so full of self-love. You are so full of self-validation. You don't have to fit in. In fact, what will happen is others will try to fit in with you because of your authenticity. And you're correct. You don't need to worry. I never worried about fitting in ever in my life.
That's a certain type of confidence.
Yeah.
Hey, I am who I am. Take it or leave it. You know,
that's it.
It doesn't mean you go around like being jerks to people or punking them.
Yeah, you're not arrogant.
You're not arrogant. Very comfortable in your own skin.
That's right.
And man, I got to tell you, when I was in my trauma, like in college, and I had really bad manic depression and a bunch of other stuff, anxiety, rage, all of that, I always felt like I was a burden to others. And a lot of people would, my roommates would go out together and leave me behind. They wouldn't invite me. They go out. And the thing is when you're in trauma, a lot of people do see this darkness in you and not want to be around that. I mean, when you're feeling, people don't want to be around people who feel bad because they don't want to feel bad too. And it's a kind of a sad truth, and in an ideal world, if you saw someone who felt bad, you would comfort and console and care them. And sometimes people do that. But by and large, I got treated the worst when I felt the worst about myself. But now that I'm like very comfortable in my own skin, I have people tell me, man, you're just cool. I want to hang out. And I have people like fly down to Mexico City just to hang out with me, which is great. You know, we're going to have a great time. But just being comfortable in your skin, you become so much more likable and magnetic to other people because they want what you got. They're like, I wish I could just be comfortable in my own skin. Like subconsciously, they may not even consciously realize it, but they're like, there's something about this guy that I like. Well, what do they like? Well, they wish they could just be doing whatever and just be like comfortable and happy. They wish they had your level of I'm chill. I'm just living life. I'm just enjoying life. They wish they had that. And so that attracts them to you.
Everybody loves authenticity. If you notice, Ryan didn't say they came to him because he was so good looking, drove a fast car, or had 15 women hanging on his arms.
Yeah, I don't have a car now. I did used to have a fast one, but
yeah, but
I don't have any at all now. I Uber.
Yeah, they're attracted to Ryan because of the authenticity. They don't even know why. They just are.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to brag, but I just hear it now. I literally have people, they're like, you're just cool, man. Can we hang out? And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Come on over.
But when I was in the worst of my depression, I'm like, oh, and I'm in this Christian university where, Christ teaches to, strengthen the weak knees and console and help others. And I'm like, why aren't they doing that? They're avoiding me. They go out and leave me behind. They don't even invite me along. But that's really just kind of human nature. They're trying to avoid feeling bad like I feel bad. And we're empathetic in the sense, yes, people do have compassion for others, but we're empathetic in the sense that if someone's in a really bad mood and we hang around with them enough, we are going to start feeling bad too. People don't want that. They don't want to start feeling bad. And this goes into why it's actually very good to pick good friends, because their good energy is going to rub off on you, and then you're going to be more motivated, etc. if you have motivated friends, etc.
Yeah, who would you rather hang out with, Piglet or Eeyore?
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, you just hurt Eeyore's feelings real bad. That's okay.
But yeah, new next. Book that session, brother. Get it going. And for everybody else that's listening, don't be afraid to look inside, because the good thing is you won't have to look inside very long anymore. And you will know to your core how freaking awesome you are.
You face the pain and you get rid of it, and you replace it with unconditional self-love.
Yeah, this is not we're going to look in now and next week and the week after that and the week after that and the week after that, like when going to a psychologist. We're not going to do that. We're going to look in one time. We're going to clear that trauma. We're going to reprogram you for success, and you're up and screaming.
Thanks, P-Dubs. You're too kind. And listen, I'll say with the reason Tim became a hypnotherapist is he used to work with me. He loved me, thought I was a great guy. I've always thought Tim was a great guy. But I was in my trauma. I cleared like 60% of my depression with normal therapy when Tim came to me, but I had a bunch of other stuff. My anxiety was still full force, as Tim will testify. And then we didn't see each other for several years. You moved off to Arkansas. I was still in Utah. And then I moved to Texas. And then he's like, oh, I'm in Texas. We had dinner, and halfway through, what did you say, Tim?
I said, what the hell's different about you?
Yeah, you're like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Is this a doppelganger?
Looked the same, sound the same, but was just very, very different.
And it's because you clear your trauma. I replaced the self-loathing with self-love, and it changes everything. I had a client who had toxic shame. I got rid of it, and he said after our session, even the taste of food was different. Because he used to just wolf it down. Now he he's like not preoccupied with all his trauma, so he can actually just relax and savor the food. And it literally made the food taste different. That's insane, but that's what he said. It's true. I believe it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I think we can power through the rest. I think
Yeah,
we got
let's
2
power
more.
through. We're at the
2 more
hour mark.
points.
We gotta hit accelerated mode now.
All right.
Refrain from inconveniencing others with your presence. 6. You put on a facade for others. You're one way when you're by yourself, and then another when you're around other people. You wear a mask and don't let other people see the real you because you hate who you are. You try so hard to fit in and be liked by everyone, and you constantly wish that you were someone else. You feel ashamed of your true self, and you think that no one will ever be able to accept you, so you'd rather pretend to be someone you're not. And 7, you're afraid to dream big. Having ambition and dreaming something big for yourself scares you. You smother your own hopes and aspirations because you think you'll never be able to achieve them, so what's the point? You look down on yourself and all that you can do and refuse to leave your comfort zone. The possibility of failure and rejection terrifies you. You easily feel discouraged and worthless the moment you encounter a setback. You deny yourself opportunities to grow and have new experiences because you don't believe in yourself. Your insecurities make it hard for you to see your capabilities, and you can't allow yourself to succeed. We all have a lot of self-destructive behaviors that are toxic for our mental health and emotional well-being. So many of us struggle with feelings of insecurity, emptiness, and worthlessness that it can sometimes lead us to hating ourselves. Becoming more aware of your self-hatred makes it easier for you to overcome it. And with time, patience, support, and dedication, you can learn to love yourself and live a happier, healthier life. Did these points remind you of someone? Maybe.
All right. So that's pretty
Yep,
much
that's
it.
the end of that one.
I'll bring up number 6 just to. So
And
6
all
was-
of this suffering is optional. It's all fixable. For 99% of people, it's fixable.
Yes.
So that last one, number 7. You're afraid to dream big. Why? Because if you are small, nobody will notice you and you'll feel very comfortable there. And you may also feel that you don't deserve to dream big, but you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of defense mechanisms. This lady has been kind of in passing and not identifying them as defense mechanisms exactly, but like putting on a false front is to keep people from rejecting the real you.
Yep.
So I'm going to put up a front that I think people will find acceptable. But even if they don't find it acceptable, at least they didn't reject the real me. They rejected this avatar, this false front, not the real me.
Oh, we missed Denise.
There's a
Hello,
lot of
Denise. Welcome to the
defense
show.
mechanisms here.
She checked in about a half hour ago.
And then it can just be straight. I'm not good enough to dream big. Why even dream big? I'll never achieve that. I can't achieve that, even if I try my hard. And what keeps people from trying their hardest a lot of the times is if I go all out, if I give it everything I got and then fail, then that proves that I am intrinsically across the board not good enough because I gave it everything. And I still came up short. If you half-ass it, if you procrastinate it, if you start and then stop, you have an excuse. Well, the reason I could have succeeded, but I didn't because I didn't give it my all. And that's what holds people back. They don't want to find, if you have this belief that when you fail, it means you're a failure, going all out and failing in your mind will then prove you're a failure, worthless, etc.
That's right.
This is self-sabotage. You're going to start and then you're going to pull back before you get to the finish line. So now you have an excuse for not succeeding. Yeah,
and you may even sabotage yourself halfway through it just to prove that you can't do it.
Yeah. Because if you right, exactly right. If you pull the ripcord, rather than before you hit the ground, then it's like, oh well, it was going to happen anyway. I'd rather it fail on my terms than
Then
external forces.
Going all out and then coming to the conclusion that I gave it my all and failed, that proves I'm not good enough. Does that make sense? You guys see where I'm coming from?
Well, you have to put it in the context of this is what people will do with that fake facade to prove that they weren't good enough. When in reality, what we're saying is that if you did it all and it didn't work out, all you learned was one way that didn't work. You're still a valuable human being.
That's a good program. We want to
Yep.
get in your subconscious.
That's what we want.
Most
But
people don't have that.
yeah, but you're right. Most
you do
people
way better
will,
in life when you have that in you.
Yeah,
sure.
Most people will expect to fail because failing means they were right. They were a failure, and they're not.
You don't even realize you're doing it. Our subconscious mind directs our life on autopilot. And so when we intentionally focus on stuff, we can bring our conscious mind into the fray and intentionally do something. The rest of the time, subconscious is in control.
Yep.
And sometimes even when you intentionally want to do something, your subconscious still keeps you from doing it. Oh, why am I procrastinating? Why do I have all this internal resistance? Why did I self-sabotage? And you're trying not to. But our subconscious, if it's a boxing match, subconscious gets in a fight with conscious. Subconscious wins 95% of the time if they each have conflicting agendas. Subconscious usually wins. So fix your subconscious so that it is aligned with what your conscious mind wants to do.
Yep. And thank you, Rebecca.
That's what you do.
I
Thank
had
you.
thoughts
Yeah.
on this facade. So
Thank you, the new next too.
It's almost like you're splitting your personality when you're putting on this facade for people. So
Oh yeah.
And there can be several reasons why. One of the reasons might be, I think the most common is like, if people ever really got to know me, they wouldn't like the real me. So I have to pretend like I'm something I'm not. And certainly that's exhausting to have to do all the time. But it's also like, I don't deserve to show other people. I think, it's sad, but I think that there are individuals that we've known that have perhaps self-deleted or have secret self-harm, and we're like, I would have never guessed that person was secretly struggling. That it's not the silent majority, it's like the silent, like you suffer in silence kind of thing.
Yep.
And so that's also an example of like, if you feel like you can't share your struggles with other people, like you're not allowed to share, your issues or things you're struggling with, that's also a form of a facade, because you're putting on this facade that everything's okay. And in reality, it's like beneath the surface, it's all, turmoil.
Yeah. I remember I was dating this girl many years ago, and she seemed okay to me, but then we went on a boat for water skiing, wakeboarding, etc., and she had cuts on her leg, and I was like, obvious like razor blade cut scars. And because she's wearing a swimsuit, that freaking shocked me, man.
Yeah, because they try and put their best face forward, always, but you don't always know what's beneath the surface.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, this will be my last words.
Wrap it up.
If you have some action that you participate in daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, that doesn't serve you to the greatest extent that you think it should serve you, that is the beginning of the first trouble or failure, is the indication, right? Start looking at that behavior. Start trying to figure out why you do it, what causes it, etc. Get the dive to the 5, which is free. Start diving in and identifying and understanding why, because like Ryan said, that feeling is optional, 100% optional, and you can opt out.
It's a feeling tied to the belief.
Yeah, there you go.
Change the belief and you get rid of the feeling.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's my thought as we end this up.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand. Now, there are neuroscientists that actually, Dr. Andrew Huberman, one of the top 10 podcasts in the world, Stanford neuroscientist, he actually says in one of his first podcasts on YouTube, it's using focus to change your brain, that you can actually go in and change these deep beliefs in one shot. And he tells you the steps. It's 5 steps. We use that. So all the pain and all the beliefs tied to it that make you struggle, You literally have the power to go in and change that. And our free program shows you how to do it. We show you at a much deeper guided level with one-on-one sessions. But you're really doing it yourself. We're just giving you guidance, showing you how. You're the one doing it. You can do that. You have that power to take all this stuff you think is static, that's chronic, that you're going to struggle with your whole life. No, you can go in, you can rewire it. You have the power because you truly do have more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.